Kubernetes volumes. Okay, you all remember that container and pod by nature is ephemeral in nature. Okay, it's ephemeral. That means whenever we store something into it, okay, when the life cycle of the pod is over, or due to some reason the pod reboots, or it's it's uh, it's moved from one node to another node, the data attached to it or the particular host will be lost. Okay, because the pod resides on particular host, and if we have dependency on the underlying host infrastructure, then the data will be lost. Okay, that's why there is a need for volumes. Okay, so why volumes are required? To keep the data that must last longer than the pod's life cycle. It helps us in sharing the same pod. Okay, means the same pod to share the data, means within the containers. The pod contains multiple containers, like they can share the data within themselves using Kubernetes volume. Okay, so we can make available external storage from any cloud storage or object storage, and it can be accessible. Okay, and to separate the data from several pods as well. Okay, so this is what we use Kubernetes volumes for, to have a persistent data. Now you remember I explained about container storage interfaces. Okay, it is just like CRI and CNI. CRI is for container runtime, CNI is for networker interface. Similarly, for container storage interface also, we have various standards, okay, for managing storage in Kubernetes. So it has some rules or set of rules which needs to be followed for interacting with the storage. So we need to understand three new concepts. One is storage class, then the persistent volume. PV stands for persistent volume, and PVC stands for persistent volume claim. So suppose this is our pod on our particular host, okay, and it needs a volume. Okay, so suppose there is an existing EBS volume. Okay, in AWS we have EBS volume. Okay, so that persistent volume is already created by system admin or an end user. Okay, so that is called as an existing PV. That is persistent volume is already created using EBS. So EBS is a volume of AWS, and PV is a term used by Kubernetes to create a volume. Okay, so this is this volume which is created from EBS in Kubernetes term is called as persistent volume. Okay, and when the pod request for it, okay, via PVC, it will claim that volume via request called PVC. Okay, that's why it's called as persistent volume claim. From PV we claim PVC, means actually PVC claims PV, and it is attached to a particular pod. Okay, so this is using existing PV. Okay, or also called as static provisioning. Okay, so everything is done manually. The volume is created, the persistent volume is created, then the persistent via persistent volume claim definition we attach it to the pod. This is called as static PVC. Then we also have dynamic provisioning of a new PVC. In this case, we do not provision anything, everything is done automatically. We just define the configuration or definition of PVC, that I need such amount of PVC. Okay, it will go to the AWS EBS, create PV, okay, and attach it to PVC. Okay, so if you see, there is a storage class. So storage class means, in this case the storage class is EBS1. Okay, but suppose there are some other storages like NFS, CPH, or some from other vendor, okay, which are CSI compliant, then that storage class we need to define in the Kubernetes cluster. Okay, and then via that storage class it will interact with the particular storage, and it will claim it automatically. So we just need to define it, but before that, for that automation we need some setup. Okay, that setup we'll be doing today for EBS volume. So remember, storage classes, different types of provisioners are there. They are part of storage class. It can be NFS, EBS, if it is Azure, Azure Disk, if it is Google, Google Disk. Okay. Similarly, CEPH is also supported. Gluster FS is supported. So there are various storage classes. Okay. So persistent volume is the real physical volume. Okay, that is claimed via PVC, and then it is attached to a volume. So this is how the physical PV, most if it is static or manually, the sysadmin will create a persistent volume. Okay, the persistent volume claim will claim it, and it will be attached to a particular pod. Okay, so we have physical storage. Then we create PVCs, and it is attached to a container or a app. Okay, so and this is how we create configuration for PVC. So till now we have seen deployment, okay, services, ingress, cert manager, this kind of objects. Now the new object which we will learn today is persistent volume claim. Okay, we are saying that we create a means ask for a 1 GB of disk, okay, storage 1 GB, and this is an example for one of the microKTs, okay, Kubernetes, but we'll have something different. The storage class can be different. We are saying that it can be accessed read write once. It is also possible to access read write many. Okay, so we are asking via this claim 1 GB of disk. Okay, and it will be automatically assigned if it is dynamic. Then in deployment definition, we'll add one more column, that is for volumes. Here we'll say that the PVC which you created here, okay, name it as HTML volume. So in this case the name is HTML volume. So the persistent volume claim which is created here, mount it as a name it as a HTML volume, and if you see above that, it is mounted. So in a container, volume mounts. First we define volume, that use this PVC HTML volume. Now use this defined HTML volume as a means on this particular path, USR share nginx HTML. Okay, so whatever data which is stored in USR share nginx HTML indirectly is stored in that particular storage. Okay, so here we define persistent volume claim. Here we claim it, means attach it to the container using this block, volume mounts and volume. And if you go to this site, so in the Kubernetes documentation in the storage classes, okay, we can see that various storage classes are means provisioners, actually the one which gives us storage are possible: Azure file, CEPH, okay, so NFS, Portworx, various volumes are given, and here also the examples are given how to create a pod and how to see. Here they have mounting it. Okay, then the storage class standard is their example given. Similarly, this is an example for EBS. The similar one will be uh, doing today. Okay, this is for EBS. This is for NFS. For vSphere also we have provisioner. Okay, so various provisioners are possible. Okay, if you want to go through this link, you can go if you have some requirement for other storages. So that was all about the introduction to storage class.